Hi, welcome to Vanished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
For a Monday, it was a good day. I guess, getting a week off, getting some perspective. Today was actually a decent Monday.
I like that. It was a decent Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're feeling a little bit spooky season-ish.
Yes, for sure. Getting closer to Halloween.
Yes.
The best holiday ever.
That's what I was going to say. My most favorite.
Yes, for sure. My neighbor told me that his son, because he has his son who's, I think, a first grader, who they have decorations out too, but they're all like more children decorations, even though there is a blow up Michael Myers. Oh. But his son said that he needed to up his decoration game to be more scary because his were baby decorations and like mine are not.
Yes, yours are the best.
Thanks, Gavin. Love you. It was funny.
He's like, you're my idol.
Right?
Yes.
I'm like, I'll take that from the 7-year-old. Absolutely.
Anytime. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to transition from, but should we jump into a case that's truly heartbreaking?
Absolutely.
All right. Today I want to tell you about Keeshae Jacobs. And as I was researching and reading as much as I could, she just felt like someone I would have loved to know.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. She was 21 years old. She lived in Richmond, Virginia. By all accounts, everyone described her as having this, and I love this, unforgettable spirit.
Yeah, I like that description. That's a good description.
Yeah, I've not read that before for anyone. One of her best friends said that she has the biggest heart and could be the party to the room, always picking you up when you were down.
Definitely my kind of girl.
She is. She's petite. She was only about 5'3" and 100 pounds. But they all said she was tough, even though she was tiny in stature, and also sensitive. I just have this image of Keeshae walking into a room, instantly wrapping her loved ones in a hug. And that's not just me imagining it. Her mom, Toni, said that Keeshae was always known for giving big, frequent hugs. Her mom would say she would come and hug her, and 5 minutes later, she'd say, Mom, I need a hug.
Need another one.
And she'd say, Keeshae, I just hugged you. She's like, but I need another. Keeshae and her mom were really close. They would have scary movie nights.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. They would snuggle up under blankets in her mom's room, pretending to be at a theater, watching movies, and scary movies were their go-to.
Perfect.
Yes. She always loved shopping trips at the mall. And importantly, her and her mom talked or texted constantly throughout the day.
Okay. So good to know.
Mm-hmm. She's the kind of person who kept her phone charged so that she would never miss checking in with family. And if her battery died, she would either use someone else's and send her mom a Facebook message, or she would stop by. I mean, she was really connected.
Yeah, that's connected.
Yep.
We can go an hour or two without, but the fact that even if her battery would die, she would either recharge it or stop it or use somebody else's phone to let people know is kind of crazy.
Yep. And I just get the feeling that they were BFFs, where you don't want to not be in contact.
Although, my kids will do that too. They will, hey, I'm texting from so-and-so's phone because mine died, just letting you know we're doing this, So I'm like, I guess that's not entirely shocking because mine do that as well.
Yeah.
Although mine aren't 21, they're under 18. So it seems a little bit more obvious at that age versus a 21-year-old.
She did still live at home with her mom. She had graduated from high school and decided she wasn't entirely sure what she wanted to do with her life.
Yeah.
And until she really had that figured out, she was just going to stay.
Might as well.
Yep. Agreed. Keeshae was described as loyal, affectionate, kind-hearted, bright, full of laughter, truly the heart of her family. She was the baby. Keeshae lived at home with her mom, like we mentioned, and also her older brother, Davon, in Richmond. The three of them were extremely tight-knit to the point where people said they could be mistaken for a trio of best friends.
How old was Davon?
He was older than Keeshae. He was 25.
Okay.
Toni was a single mom. She worked hard to provide for her kids, but she also always made time for fun with them. She would often take them both to their favorite amusement park called King's Dominion.
I love that they still did that together.
Me too. She said, especially like birthdays, that would be their go-to. We have to fit that in. They also regularly visited extended family. Despite being 4 years apart in age, Keeshae and Davon were about as close as sister and brother could get. In fact, Keeshae adored her big brother so much that she once called him, quote, the whole other half of me.
Oh,
isn't that sweet?
Yes.
Their house just seemed full of love and support. Like I said, she didn't move out after high school. She stayed at home. She was working a few different jobs, just kind of taking her time figuring out what she really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Toni seems like an incredible mom.
Absolutely.
She made home their happy place, so much so that Keeshae had Toni's name tattooed on her shoulder with a little heart.
Cute.
Yes, deeply connected. Our story starts on September 26th, 2016. It was a Monday, and the Jacobs family was just doing Monday. You know, it had started out like any other day. That evening, Keeshae decided that she was going to go hang out with a female friend of hers. And her mom said that while she really trusted Keeshae's judgment, she sometimes felt like she could put too much trust in the wrong person. And this particular friend that she knew Keeshae was going to be spending time with was one of those people. Wasn't her favorite. She's trying, Keeshae's 21, trying to trust her daughter's judgment, but at the same time...
How long had she been friends with her?
For a while.
Okay.
It seemed like not necessarily in high school.
Okay, but after high school, but at least a few years at this point.
Yes. Keeshae actually was kind of upset that, early evening, she had had an argument with her boyfriend. And Toni later recalled that Keeshae was venting and angry about the fight. But Toni and Davon were good at getting her in her happy place again. And it wasn't a huge fight. It was just an argument, and not even in person, over the phone, texting. They said by the time she left, she seemed basically back to her normal self.
Okay.
Before she headed out the door, Keeshae promised that she'd be home bright and early on Tuesday morning, and she planned to make her brother a special breakfast. She said she was going to come home and make him pancakes. It just seems like a really thoughtful thing to do.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm going out, but I'll be home so I can make you pancakes. Like, that's on a Tuesday morning, like not even like the weekend.
Right. Toni said that before Keeshae left, she remembered telling her to just be careful and let me know that you made it there safely. And Keeshae did check in. Around 11 p.m. that night, Toni got a text from Keeshae saying she'd arrived safely at the friend's house, adding, I love you, in the message. Toni replied, I love you too, not realizing that it would be the last communication she'd ever have with her daughter. Everything seemed fine at that point. Toni went to bed, expecting to see Keeshae there in the morning. When the next morning came, Keeshae hadn't returned home. So instead of waking up to the smell of pancakes, like Keeshae had said, Toni awoke to silence. Immediately, she knew something was wrong. It just wasn't like her to not come home like she said she was going to.
Right.
And also not communicate that.
And she was just going to hang out at the girl's house. They weren't going to go anywhere and do anything. It was just a hangout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spend the night, probably.
Yeah.
Keeshae usually checked in with Toni on her lunch break, which was between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. each day. But on the 27th, no check-in came. So Toni got nervous and panicked a lot faster than some people do, just because of that constant communication and not scheduled check-ins, but almost.
Right.
She could count on those. As the hours passed, dread set in. By that evening, September 27th, Toni's concern had exploded into full-blown panic. She began reaching out to Keeshae's friends in hopes of finding her. And I do feel like because she's so used to that communication.
Oh, yeah. Everything's much more heightened and panicked. And yeah, that's just weird. Especially if the phone is not, like you can tell the messages are going through and they're not coming up like, oh, okay, the battery's just dead.
Mm-hmm. This one, it sounds like they were just going straight to voicemail. At first, none of Keeshae's friends could or would tell Toni where her daughter was.
Seems kind of odd.
Yeah. Toni pressed them for any detail. Eventually, a few friends, and I think just one or two, admitted that they had dropped Keeshae off at a man's house the night before.
Did Keeshae have a car? Did she drive herself?
She had gotten picked up that night.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she had her own car.
Okay. But this night she got picked up.
Yes.
So then the house that she got dropped off at was the friend that she was supposed to be staying the night with. That girl was dating this guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
or talking.
Yeah.
Friends.
All of the reporting says that she had, quote, romantic interest in him.
Oh.
So it didn't
The friend did, not Keeshae.
Not
okay.
Keeshae. To the best of my knowledge and through everything I could find, it doesn't sound like Keeshae really knew him even.
Okay.
They had maybe met once.
Yeah.
And then she kind of knew from hearing her friend talk about him.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
So she
friends.
was wing-girling at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
And this house is only about 10 minutes away from where Keeshae's house is. They're both in Richmond.
Oh, okay.
It's not super out of the way. Also, it's really close to where Keeshae had mentioned in her text to her mom that that's where she was going.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a crazy out of the way place. Toni got the address and went over. It was a small house on East Broad Street, not far from a park. Her heart pounding, Toni knocked on the door and was greeted by a man who introduced himself as Otis L. Omar Tucker. Toni asked if he knew where Keeshae was. Tucker claimed that, oh yeah, I saw Keeshae that Monday night. He said he even saw her briefly the next day. But his story started changing rapidly because at first, he said he saw Keeshae for a few minutes around 5 p.m. on September 26th. But Keeshae was still at home.
Yeah.
At 5 p.m. Hadn't even left. And her mom's asking him, it couldn't have been 5 p.m. She was with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, oh, no, I forgot. It's a little bit later. And then he changes his story altogether and says she was dropped off, but she was only there for a couple minutes. And then someone else came to pick her up. And he didn't know who that was. So this rapidly changing story in just a few minutes.
Yeah, like weird.
Huge red flags, alarm bells, everything. Nothing added up. Toni later recounted that he proceeded to tell me different times he saw her, which was a lie. Standing on the doorstep, Toni just had this sick feeling that Tucker knew more than he was telling. Maybe mom's intuition, maybe spotting liars. I don't know exactly, but she could just tell that everything he was saying was a lie. She would later learn that Tucker was the last person known to have seen Keeshae alive. His account of that night would shift repeatedly under questioning. It doesn't sound like it was ever the same narrative. In that moment, though, all Toni knew was that this man's house was the last place her daughter had been, and she did not care for his evasiveness. Toni called Richmond police and reported Keeshae missing. She also gave them Tucker's information, urging them to go investigate this house. She's telling him, my daughter's missing. This is the last place she was. I know for a fact he's got this variety of stories he's telling me. The initial response from law enforcement was painfully dismissive. According to blackandmissinginc.com, the first officer she spoke with was skeptical that anything was wrong. He told Toni, she's probably not missing. She probably just doesn't want to be bothered. Like, okay.
Yeah, like, let me show you how often this child texts and calls me every day and then tell me why she's gone ghost.
And that's exactly what she did.
Okay.
She pulled out her phone and showed him their calls, their text logs.
Did that
everything.
Change his mindset?
It seemed to.
Okay.
I don't believe that it increased the urgency.
Okay.
But she was put in the system as a missing person a little bit earlier on.
Okay.
Than what we see
in
other cases. Toni says, though, why do I have to plead my case? Like, why do I have to show you this to get you to believe me? Infuriating. You know, right away, of course, Toni felt the urgency of not being able to contact, communicate with, or find Keeshae. and of course, far more acutely than authorities did. To her, it was obvious something bad had happened. Keeshae wasn't just not wanting to be bothered.
Right.
In those critical early days, though, Toni sensed that investigators were not taking Keeshae's case seriously. And she also couldn't shake the feeling that if her daughter were white, the case might have been handled with more urgency.
Yep.
And, statistics support Toni's experience. 1 in 10 women in the U.S. are Black, but out of every 10 women who go missing, 4 of them are Black.
Wow.
On top of that, their cases on average are open 4 times as long.
That does not shock me.
It is awful. Their disappearances often receive less attention and slower action. And we all know how important those first few days are.
There is a show called The First 48 for a reason.
Exactly. Toni felt let down by law enforcement, but she pressed on. She did make sure that missing persons report went in. And when days turned into weeks with no sign of Keeshae, she rallied the community to help. Volunteers distributed flyers with Keeshae's photo all over Richmond. Family, friends, and even concerned strangers walked the streets. They searched abandoned lots and alleyways for any clue. Toni relentlessly called local media to try to get Keeshae's story on the news.
Did they pick it up?
Some.
Okay.
There are a couple that I could find stories from in those early days.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anywhere near
like what we see for other people.
Yep. It wasn't until November of 2017, so 14 months after Keeshae vanished, that Richmond police publicly acknowledged what Toni had been saying all along.
14 months later?
That was the first time they said the words out loud that they suspected foul play in Keeshae's disappearance. So it wasn't that they weren't doing anything.
So that they suspected foul play, meaning that they'd found evidence that led them. Okay.
Right. Toni says that it was appalling the way that she was just put on the back burner with all these early delays and almost like dragging their feet to go and do anything. Detectives did say at that time, so the 14 months later, that they had canvassed the Churchill area. They said they passed out flyers. I almost feel like...
Do they really pass out flyers? I've never seen police do that
I almost
or heard of that.
feel like they were saying, in this case, flyers have been passed out.
Yeah.
But if it weren't Toni doing that...
Right. It was the family, not... and family and friends and community, not the law enforcement.
Which, like we've said before, they shouldn't have to be the ones. I mean, of course, you want to be doing something.
I mean, everything helps.
Detective William Thompson did say at that press conference, this is not a young lady that just decided to run away or move to another state. It is not her character to not call family or friends when she would reach out to them every day. And at that press conference, they asked for anyone with information to come forward, hoping that by admitting they believed foul play had happened in Keeshae's case, that maybe they could get some new tips. Behind the scenes, investigators had found a little bit of evidence at that house that Tucker was at. According to Crime Insider sources, droplets of Keeshae's blood were discovered on clothing inside the house.
Okay, so small amounts.
Yeah.
So that could be just, hey, I cut myself, cutting a lime.
Right.
Versus not.
I can't find out how soon they came. I can't tell if it was in the first week.
Right.
Or if it wasn't for 4 weeks.
Right.
So I don't know how long he had.
Those little bit of droplets could be the cleanup that got missed.
Exactly. And by the time they saw that, whether it was early on or a couple weeks later, there wasn't enough to prove that she'd even been injured. Like you said, slicing a lime or something. Certainly not enough forensic evidence to really even bring someone in or call anybody a suspect. The case remained agonizingly open, and Richmond police did call Tucker. Well, they said they had a male person of interest.
But they didn't identify him. Yeah, which, okay, understandable, because that...
Right, if they don't have any evidence, but not a suspect.
But this was his house, correct? Or was he just there?
The reporting's a little messy. There's another person later on who talks about Tucker's character.
Mm-hmm.
She said she had known him. She needed somebody to care for her elderly grandma, and he needed somewhere to stay. So she had him come. He was there for less than a week when she called police to have him removed because
from this particular location or just a...
It's either right in the same area or this particular one. But pretty quick after Keeshae went missing.
So did he hurt the grandma of the house, the caretaker?
Said just his presence. He felt dangerous. He felt scary. He felt like he would hurt her and he wouldn't leave, which is why she called police to have him kicked out.
Right.
So I am not.
But after a week is crazy.
Right. And especially if you need that job or you need that house.
The fact that you knew him enough to say, yeah, come be a caretaker for my grandma. And then in a week, his entire demeanor changes to where you have to have police and get involved to remove him from your home.
Right.
That's wild.
It is wild. And I can't tell if he ended up renting that place from her and she moved her grandma or what exactly happened, but it was in the very close same area. So,
and there was no other people that came forward that said he had hurt them or anything like that?
Yeah, there are.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels like a long time later that they come forward.
Right.
So in these early days, because I almost feel like that could have helped them at least get enough to get a search warrant
or question him further when you have other people saying, hey, this was my experience with this person.
Right. He's dangerous. So no arrests made, no suspect, and Tucker continues to deny involvement in Keeshae's disappearance. And then, we've got no crime scene.
Yeah.
Really no evidence. And they can't find Keeshae.
Right.
So
just missing.
Yep. Investigation stalls. It effectively becomes a cold case.
And they never found her phone, correct?
Nope.
Okay.
To this day, in fact. As the weeks turn to months and there's no answers. And for Toni, she's feeling this, she knows he did something. She knows Keeshae's friends have to know something.
Yeah.
Someone.
Did they ever go and interview the girl she went and met first, or the one that had expressed romantic interest in Otis or whatever his name was?
They did, but they got nothing. I don't know if they weren't talking, but even to this day, there are still so many questions. And they know something.
This was, I understand the mom wasn't a fan of this particular friend, but she had to have friends that she did like, I assume. And
right. The ones that, even gave her Tucker's
information.
Address and information. And
which is interesting that they knew she was there with the other girl.
Yeah. That was one thing that I spent a lot of time trying to find because it's my biggest question.
Yeah. Was she someone that, through all your research, was it a robbery? Were they trying to rob her, for some reason? But I'm if she didn't have a car, I assume that means there wasn't probably anything else on her person that would have been robbery worthy.
A purse, but probably not much in that.
Right.
Her phone, just the basics.
Phone is
yeah.
Does anyone really steal those anymore?
Maybe in 2016, but...
Yeah, well, yeah, back then they probably still were.
Even then.
Because then you could still break into Apple's without... But now, without jailbreaking it, there's no point.
Yes, thank goodness, though, because one less thing to make you a target.
Right.
Toni faced this uphill battle trying to continually get Keeshae's face in the news, trying to organize these community events, spread awareness any way possible. She reached out to organizations like the Black and Missing Foundation for help when she felt like the official investigation had really just stopped. They weren't getting tips. They had nothing to go on. There were no updates. With their assistance, she was able to put up billboards and get some continued media coverage.
So Secure resources like a billboard. So is that through like the Black and Missing Foundation?
Yes.
That's interesting. I did not know that there was. Okay, so that's good to know that there's foundations out there that will help you pay for billboards in this type of situation. So that's good for families to know.
Agreed, because
I did not know that.
Of money.
Yeah.
And you're also doing the flyers.
Right.
I'm sure taking time off of work to go do any media or press cover, anything that you can do, that's coming first. Along with that, Black and Missing did become an HBO docuseries. And in 2021, Keeshae's disappearance was the first episode of that. And it was really the only national coverage that she had been able to get up to that point. Around that time, Toni contrasted the ways that they looked at Keeshae's case, which was right around the time of the disappearance of Gabby Petito.
Wow.
And she's saying, I see right away the FBI pulled out all the stops. And Toni said in an interview, I called the FBI. I was pleading. I was begging them to please help me. Have I talked to anybody? No. They never even got back to her. And for whatever reason, I know they have. But when you watch it in other cases and you see your own that's been sitting there for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious. Why are they more willing to help Gabby Petito's of the world over Keeshae's?
And I know this is a side note separately. I do feel bad that it's always like Gabby Petito, but that was just such a huge, everybody's watching it all the time. It's on every news station. And I do know
popular influencer, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And I do know her dad has started a foundation to help cases.
Yes, I do know that too, that their family, is now helping non-white people.
Right.
Yeah. Because they saw it as well. So that, I mean, at least there's that.
Yes.
Which, again, small steps.
Small steps. Throughout the years, Toni stayed strong on the outside, but she endured unimaginable heartache. In early January 2017, so we're only 3.5 months after Keeshae vanishing, the unthinkable happened. Keeshae's older brother, Davon, was murdered in an unrelated incident.
Oh my gosh. I was beginning to wonder, like, what was he not helped? Like, where's him in the... Well, now I know why.
Yeah. He was only 26. He was shot during an altercation at a motel in Richmond and died from his injuries.
That's horrible.
I can't even...
So you lose a son to violence and probably also a daughter. That's crazy.
Who you don't have any answers.
Yeah, and you've raised these babies by yourself.
Yep.
For 26 years. Wow. That's
broke my heart.
Horrible.
She later said she was heartbroken and devastated. I mean, I'm sure there are no words that fully encompass.
There's nothing. There's literally nothing you can say.
No.
For that. Absolutely nothing.
Davon's killer was eventually prosecuted. He was convicted, but then he had his conviction overturned on appeal. Then I did see that he pleaded no contest to a lesser charge. I think he ended up with only 10 to 15 years because they ended up charging him with like manslaughter, I believe. And by the time that last one, he only had like 3.5 years left that he would have to serve by the time the final verdict and conviction and everything came in.
Wow.
Yeah. So she had to bury her son without knowing what happened to her daughter. Somehow, this incredible woman found the strength to keep going. She actually went and graduated from a local college program in 2018. She said she did that in honor of Keeshae and Davon, and it helped renew her purpose. Her determination to find her daughter, she says, is even stronger today than it was when she first went missing, which she said on the 7th anniversary of Keeshae's disappearance. And like it usually does, during those long years of uncertainty, rumors and leads swirled through the community. Toni clung to hope that maybe, just maybe, Keeshae was still alive somewhere. One theory that she had considered was that Keeshae might have become a victim of human trafficking, taken away from Virginia against her will, which is a terrifying, horrible scenario, but it offered one of the only slivers of hope that Keeshae could still be alive.
Yeah.
In interviews, Toni sometimes voiced this possibility that her daughter had been trafficked out of state because there really was no evidence of her death. They never found the phone. They never found clothes. They never found anything. Toni said, "I'm still praying every day I pray, every night I pray for Keeshae's safe return." Investigators, however, leaned towards a darker explanation from early on. Like I said, they strongly suspected foul play and believed that certain individuals in Keeshae's circle hadn't told the full truth. We feel and have felt all along that there are individuals out there that know a lot more than what they're saying. Detective Key, who was the lead Richmond detective on this case, said at the 5-year mark. He begged those people to use their contacts and online presence to share anything they knew, even anonymously, anything.
Right.
It was clear to them that Keeshae's friends were probably most likely withholding information. And why would a friend keep quiet? Fear of getting in trouble, loyalty to someone else involved? I don't know. But those questions haunted both Toni and the police. If something happened to your family member, you would want somebody to help you. Toni had pleaded to the community through tears. She said, "I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm pleading. Please help me help my daughter." Toni worked really hard to keep Keeshae's story in the public eye. And one name, really just one name, kept resurfacing in the investigation.
Well, yeah, obviously he changed his story off the first conversation multiple times.
Exactly. Tucker, who went by Omar, and he was the man at the house she had gone to. Police did not charge or publicly name him as a suspect for years, but Toni didn't have to follow those same rules.
Right.
She was never shy about pointing the finger. She had confronted him that first week, like we mentioned. She told multiple news outlets, his name is Otis Tucker. He went by Omar, saying, I know he was involved.
Right.
Can't prove it. Tucker's behavior and background amplified those suspicions. Right after Keeshae disappeared, he left Virginia and moved to Florida. It might have been a month or two, but it was pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
Toni found that alarming, as did others that were following Keeshae's case. Tucker also had a history of violence against women that came to light as this investigation unfolded. He once had been arrested for attempted murder in a prior incident in that exact same Churchill residence.
So before Keeshae went missing, he had already been arrested once for this attempted murder?
I'm not sure if he was arrested before or if it was later on when she heard about Keeshae's case that she came forward with what had happened to her.
Which, I mean, if it was attempted murder, was he not, there was no court case? Like what? I'm confused. Or this may have been after.
Well,
or pending at the time. But then he wouldn't have been allowed to leave Florida or to move to Florida.
Right. And so I don't think that she had said what happened to her.
Yeah.
And then made the report after.
Oh, okay. And then he got arrested. Okay. So yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. Shouldn't there have been charges and pending court cases for that incident?
Because from what I could find, it seems like she reached out to reporters to tell what happened to her. Not necessarily that she thought she could prove what happened in like a court case.
Right.
But just to say, I believe this guy is a predator.
Because he did this to me.
Yes. She described that Tucker tied her up and drugged her with Remeron, which is an antidepressant, while holding her captive. She says she managed to escape only because she had built up a tolerance to the drug. She said
because she was already taking it, so it was her own medication he tried to drug her on.
So.
Okay.
Yep. I guess she was playing the part of being drugged.
Right.
And when Tucker briefly untied her, she stood up like it was nothing, got out of the house. She said he stood there stunned because he wasn't expecting that reaction, I guess. Richmond detective Anthony Coates said, I would probably say he is a predator. And that quote just, it doesn't, of course he's a predator.
Yeah.
Of course. Another report came from the woman we mentioned where she had invited him to that house in 2016 to help take care of her grandmother that lived there. So it kind of seems like he wasn't from the area in the first place.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned, she says it took less than a week for Tucker's true nature to come out, to be so frightening that she was forced to call police to kick him out.
So you're in a house as a caretaker role, but you're already having people over, and
that's what I can't decide. I can't figure out if that was a different house right in the same area.
Okay.
And so he just went to his own place and stayed
or just
there.
Couch surf to another location.
Exactly. There's not a ton of reporting on those specific details. The one that has the most reporting, though, in the fall of 2022, 6 years after Keeshae disappeared, Tucker resurfaced in the headlines once more, this time for a brutal crime in Florida. On November 1st, Jacksonville police responded to a disturbance at a home where neighbors heard a woman screaming and they heard banging noises. When officers entered the residence, they found a horrific scene. 34-year-old Ashley Denise Fowler, a mother of 3, had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer.
Wow.
The suspect had fled out the back door just moments earlier, but witnesses had seen him and which way he went. His identity was soon confirmed. It was Otis Tucker, now age 36, who had been living in those same Jacksonville apartments. Tucker was arrested later that same day. He was trying to escape with a backpack, which literally contained the bloody hammer that he'd used as a weapon. Detectives attempted to collect fingernail scrapings, and he poured soda on his hands in an attempt to wash away evidence. Mm-hmm.
So was he dating this woman?
That I'm not sure, because she's not around to tell us, unfortunately, her side. It seems like maybe.
Yeah, because I'm like, what
was she
prompted him to kill her?
Yeah. They did find Ashley's DNA under his nails. He had the murder weapon. He was identified by witnesses. He was charged with murder, and with all of the evidence, he agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and evidence tampering in May of 2023. In September of that year, a Florida judge sentenced Otis Lee Tucker to life in prison for the murder of Ashley Fowler. For Toni, news of Tucker's conviction was bittersweet. On one hand, she was relieved that this dangerous man was finally off the streets for good. She said, I was hurt for the mother who had lost her daughter, but I was also thinking about my own daughter. Toni actually reached out to Ashley's grieving family. She said it was 2 mothers on the phone crying of the conversations that she had had with Ashley's mom. She's praying for me that I get answers, and I'm praying for her because she lost her daughter in the process of me trying to get information and to get this man prosecuted. Toni wondered, and I'm sure this is absolutely the case, if Keeshae's case had been solved sooner, would Ashley still be alive?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, clearly there's history of violence.
Yes. You've got multiple accounts and now one very obvious, horrific account. Being arrested and then sentenced to life in prison reignited the investigation into Keeshae's disappearance. With Tucker in custody, Richmond police saw a new chance to interrogate him about Keeshae. In September 2023, around the 7th anniversary of Keeshae's disappearance, Richmond authorities went a step further and publicly named Tucker as a suspect for the first time. For years, they'd only said they had a person of interest without really naming him. But now Detective Key and others openly said they believe Tucker was involved in whatever happened to Keeshae. And I'm sure they thought that all along.
Yeah, but they couldn't
say it. They began coordinating with the jail in Florida to arrange an interview. Detective Key was determined to finally get the truth out of him, or as much of the truth as they could. In early 24, Tucker's own father agreed to assist Richmond detectives in talking to his son. So he traveled with investigators to the Florida prison and urged Tucker to cooperate for the sake of Keeshae's family. In a stunning turn of events, Tucker confessed during this jailhouse interview, at least somewhat partially. Not enough, but a little bit. They announced the news in July of 2024 that Tucker admitted that he was indeed with Keeshae on the night she died and that he disposed of the body. The confession, though, was frustrating. Tucker did not reveal the full story of Keeshae's death, and in fact, he stopped short of admitting any murder. He claimed that Keeshae, quote, passed away in his presence, leaving whatever happened so vague, and that he panicked and hid her body in a way that it has not been found. So police have not disclosed all details of Tucker's statement, but Chief Edwards from the Richmond police indicated that Tucker's method of disposing of Keeshae was such that authorities are unable to recover her remains.
I don't even know what that means.
I was trying to think of that too.
I mean, I can think of things, but okay, wow.
Right?
Considering it was within 24 hours that her mother showed up at your door looking for her, how do you erase somebody that quickly? And okay, I'm in this, like, passed away in his presence. Okay, probably if you drugging people is your MO.
But also he bludgeoned Ashley with a hammer.
But there was other people there. And if the other girl was the one that was really there for you, again, unless he did something to the other girl and Keeshae intervened, which seems like something she would do. And then
true.
And then now that other people are aware, maybe, you're scared because now you think he's going to come after you after you've seen what he's capable of doing. So now you're, again, accessory. But the fact that they're acknowledging that her remains are impossible to recover.
Yeah.
That is, I don't even know what that means.
And I tried to research that. I tried to research.
Well, Virginia. I mean, Florida, I'd go, okay.
Swamps.
Alligators.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't know. Does Virginia have swamp areas? But again, but even that, no, I've watched other shows where, and this is really getting morbid, but alligators don't eat the entire, you still find remnants. And that's how you know that somebody has been eaten by an alligator. So yeah, it can't be that.
The only thing that I could think of was maybe a landfill.
Right. Or
because
acid. But even that I still feel leaves something.
And I still feel like they would have found evidence that he purchased.
And even a landfill, again, from watching another show just yesterday, in fact.
Yeah.
Landfills are such where if they know the time frame, they have grids. So they know, okay, in this date and time, here's the area you want to search in a land. It's still a needle in a haystack.
Right.
Because landfills are large, but they can still find the general area. At least I believe, granted, this was a particular city and state, but I feel like that all of them are like that, where here's this grid, and it's dates. And so they can go search that area, which maybe enough years have passed that, there would be. But I still think you could find bones.
Right.
Those don't decay I don't know.
Something related to her, right?
Yes.
So I don't know what that means either. And because it had been so long, and really, Toni just really wanted to know what happened to Keeshae. And I'm sure these questions keep her up at night. He was offered immunity.
So king for a day. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is better than nothing. And he's already in prison for life.
Right. That's exactly what Toni has said. Given that he's already serving a life sentence in Florida, I really just need to know what happened.
Yeah, because I mean, it sounds like they still didn't get. Well, I mean, I guess they're not divulging it. Which
Hopefully.
maybe so that means there's other people involved, and they're going to try to get evidence against them. So I can see why they wouldn't release everything, at
Right.
least to the public. Like maybe her mom knows, obviously, with to spare maybe some details, but like,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, yes, at least this is not closure whatsoever, nor is it
No.
justice. However, she at least has an outcome
Hmm.
of knowing.
And they were able to have like a memorial service finally for
Right.
Keeshae.
Right.
And
So yeah, so now this mother has really lost both her children officially. Oh
yes,
God.
isn't that horrible?
Yes.
Toni clung to hope for so long that facing that reality, heartbreaking. And like we said, Richmond police officials have privately talked with family.
Okay, so they did tell him.
But
Okay.
I don't know how many of those details they don't want getting out. So they're holding those to the chest
I
as
mean,
well.
I'm sure they can tell that the family understand, especially if there's the caveat of we know that now that there's other people involved. So now we are holding stuff back so that we can again attempt that. I understand. And I would think the family wouldn't disclose that publicly either.
Right.
Just to help along in that, like maybe not conviction for Omar, but
For
other
anyone
people.
else.
Yeah. That
Yes.
probably helped.
And that's
Or
what
had knowledge of.
Yeah. Knowledge. I mean, someone took her there. Someone either left her there or they have to know something. Detective Key, like we said, who led the investigation for years, recounted that painful phone call to Toni. And she asked him through tears, where do we go from here? And the only thing that he could say at that point was, Keeshae's purpose now lives on through you. There's this profound recognition that while Keeshae's life was cut far too short, Toni has succeeded in ensuring that her daughter mattered to the community, to the media, to law enforcement, that Toni never gave up. And because of that, she has a small answer, some of the truth. Years before the case was resolved, she established the Keeshae Jacobs Foundation, aimed at educating the public about missing persons cases and trying to serve as a beacon of light for families going through similar nightmares. She organizes an annual Missing Persons Day event in Richmond, which is in April, bringing together families of the missing to share resources and support. These initiatives have taken on new meaning now that Keeshae's fate is known. So this last April in 2025 was the first one where she did know that Keeshae wasn't missing, but was no longer with us. And there's still that one last piece of Keeshae's case that remains painfully unresolved, the whereabouts of her remains.
Yeah.
So his partial confession, they say, did not reveal where he hid Keeshae's body, or like we said, that hasn't been released to the public. Toni still is fighting to bring Keeshae home. And that's why even after the case's major breakthrough, authorities and Keeshae's loved ones continue to seek the public's help. There may be someone out there who knows something, maybe the person who helped Tucker or that he confided in after all of these years. I mean, it's been 9 years
if
now.
she was there with other people, somebody else has to know. Because why would she have been left alone with him when she wasn't even the one there for the romantic interest part?
Exactly. So if you have any information at all about what happened to Keeshae Jacobs on or after September 26th, 2016, if you saw something, heard something, or know somebody who could be involved in any way, now's the time. Even the smallest detail could finally be the key in bringing Keeshae home. Here's how you can provide a tip. You can contact the Richmond Police Department Major Crimes Division. Detective Clarence Key is reachable at 804-646-5984 or the main Richmond Police line at 804-646-5100. You can also email a tip to the RPD or reach out, whatever you're comfortable with. There's also Crime Stoppers Anonymous, and they are at 804-780-1000. They also have an online tip portal, so we'll link those and list those all in the show notes. After 9 years, Toni Jacobs deserves to know where her daughter is. She has said, I want her to come home. I want closure. It's time to help give this family the closure that they so desperately need. Keeshae's story has reminded us that every missing person matters, of course. Every community member can play a role in helping to get justice for these families. Toni made a promise to her daughter. She said, Mommy's not going to stop until I find you. I'm going to find you, and I'm going to bring you home. So let's bring Keeshae home and ensure that her mom gets that closure.
Yes, let's do this for Toni.
Yeah. After everything she's done and been through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Vanished Voices. We are grateful you've chosen to spend your time with us as we bring attention to these stories that too often go unheard. If you'd like to learn more about the resources and sources we use in today's episode, visit our blog on our website at vanishedvoicespod.com. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and share the podcast. Your support not only helps us reach more listeners, but also helps amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves. You can find Vanished Voices on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.